Peace, my Rosebuds. It's your girl, Ebony Rose, here with a video today. How y'all doing? I aspire that everyone is well. But today we're going to be in for a nice, what I believe is a captivating topic, as well as imperative. So today we're going to be speaking about the importance of goddess spirituality and why it is imperative for this sort of way of living and pretty much a direction of a categorized spirituality or practice should be centered around the goddess again. Now, I don't know, did I introduce myself already, y'all? If I didn't, I am Ebony Rose, and I'd like to welcome those who are returning, as well as to anyone that is new that may have just found their way onto my channel. So yeah, like I said, I'm your girl Ebony Rose, and I'm here to talk about the imperatives of goddess spirituality. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Goddess spirituality is something that was never ushered in. So unlike Christianity, especially the Christianity that was brought in post the one that it was centered around in Ethiopia, not necessarily talking about that, but we had this other group of Christianity that was ushered in, brought in by King James, whom also wrote demonology. For, you know, a little fun fact for those of y'all who did not know this. But clearly he had an objective, and this objective would play out up until this day. In the time of his reign, and even before his reign, when religious group was established, it correlated with the government system. So the church was indeed the government. And it was to carry out ideals that pretty much the elites of the time thought was valuable in their society. A lot of that excluded the women as well as the children. If we go prior to that, in ancient times or the beginning of times, you find that our ancestors were aligned with the cosmos, with the way of the earth, and everything that they do centered around it, because they saw God, goddess, spirit, the divinity in everything. It was everywhere. It was not, you had to go to a certain place to enact this sort of salvation. It was something that was imminent. So therefore, if it was something that was imminent, it was nothing that you deemed to have to worship or anything like that, again, to bring about this salvation to a deity or God outside of yourself. This chair. Okay. This chair is always going low, so you're probably going to see me descending as this video goes on. So, this is the way it was. This what we know as spirituality is something that never ceased to be, because we are spirituality. Spirituality is us. It's something that we could never stop. It just is. And at a time when Mother Earth, the Earth Society, different tribes, people here were harmonized and were at peace, was at a time when we identified and we lived this way in terms of harmonizing with the land, being in balance with the times and the seasons, and knowing when to do what, knowing when to rest, knowing when to be active. Everything was a rhythmic cycle. And because we knew that, and this would become elevated to where the women would become honored. Why would the women become honored? Because women were the ones to usher in life into this planet. And the men of those time, at least for a brief time, for the most part, they understood this. And that is why the men also was revered, because they provided, I mean, that's what they did. They provided, period. But the men provided, and they protected, and they hunted, and it was all in center of the woman, as well as the children. And the children not being programmed and being naturally in tuned as well would be also a source that would be connected to God. And who do you think that God was? The one giving it all its nutrients, especially from the breast, you know, the one whose birth canal it came through to come here on earth. Who do you think that child's first God was? So this is just something that was just a matter of. And that's why women were always brought up unto a throne. Because again, they were the bridge that would connect you to the realm of the mystère, of the mystery, of the notion of this greater essence in which you are looking to connect with that source. Women by nature, we are the closest things to that. Now, it's something that I know I've expressed in my last video, and you know what? It might be a common thing that I continue to say, because I do want to hone this in on a lot of the minds of the women today. And this is something that a former pimp by the name of Iceberg Slim would say. And it's something that has always stuck with me. And like I said, some of y'all might have heard me. If you tuned into my past videos, you may have heard me mention this in a video or so, where Iceberg Slim, a former pimp, states that a pimp, okay, listen closely, a pimp is just a hoe who flipped the game on hoes. Now that line right there carries so much. And if you have the innate discernment and divine, what most will call Holy Spirit, or discernment, or the eyes to see and the ears to hear, this statement alone will have a profound effect on you and would have awakened something in you, because that's just what it is. Now, time would play out where woman who was naturally placed on a throne would descend, sort of like how Venus as the 13th planet was ascended at one point, and then she as well would descend, or how Inanna would come to a point and she would descend by going through all 7 gates. However, her story would in turn conclude with her ascension. But in Inanna's case, she had to sacrifice something. So in this, while we live here in this earthly plane, it's a lesson and a school in which we go about. And we as well are supposed to be having an ascension of our own. But in that ascension, as we go through our 7 gates, it's something that had hindered us that we might have not realized that we in turn also sacrifice in order to connect back to our higher self. So Ebony, what does all this have to do with goddess spirituality? Again, goddess spirituality is something that is important because the women of today, the notion and the essence of source of today has been deteriorated so much. And now we live in a world that is driven by ego. Now, ego is definitely necessary, especially in a world like this. But if we are to say that God is love, then love should definitely be behind the wheel that is driving this ego. But love, as we know it, especially us women, we harness and we manifest from our womb space. This is where creativity takes place. This is where lovemaking takes place. This is where babies are held. This is where that whole manifestation takes place, from bringing something from an invisible realm unto a physical realm. All of this in itself is an embodiment of love. Men, they more so get this sense of activity and energy and reboot from their solar plex chakra, which is about confidence, it's about ego, it's about competition, and men are just wired differently. But with the whole things being centered on a direction that men are looking to drive things, there has been a total imbalance. This has caused women to become subjective to the thoughts of men and pretty much lose out on their intuition. They lose out on their own natural connection with the divine because they are duped out of what has always come so naturally to them, and now are following doctrines of men are only driven by power and to obtain more and to be dominant, even if that is over you. Hence Ice Cube's quote, "A pimp is just a hoe when I flip the game on hoes." So now we are looking to find our identity through men, when we were connected and plugged in and tapped in with source energy, which herself is mother, whether you want to say Mother Gaia, Mama Latel, Earth, whatever junction you want to use, Newt, Mother Nature, whatever. It was what we was naturally connected with. But through this whole power dynamic, it has created a world in which we live now. Division has taken place. Everyone is looking for the Holy Grail, and everything for some reason has to be external, and no one goes within anymore. And everyone is looking to dominate over one another. Everything has become about me, but to suck everything out of you for a me sort of game. Kind of like a modern day vampire, if you know what I'm saying. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to touch everything in on this video. Unfortunately, we're about to get off in 15 minutes, but I want this to be an intro to Goddess spirituality and why it's important, and for it to ring something in you. Hopefully it did. And then I'll continue to put more videos diving in deeper on why Goddess spirituality is important. So this little intro video right here may end up being a part 1, 2, 3. I may make it into a series. I don't know how I'm gonna actually do it, but I'm going to structure it in a way for the initial idea and the objective and the message can be out here, because I don't want to leave anything that I feel is essential out of something that I know is so imperative for the world today. If we were to get back, because at the end of the day, keep in mind, people are looking for something outside of themselves to bring them, again, salvation. They have put the burden on so many spiritual leaders, and they don't really even have that true, real, authentic relationship with what it is that they claim that they think they know. Because to have such an authentic relationship, you go the route that those whom came before you have gone, if you claim to love them so much. You study what it is that they have studied. That is like somebody who's so into hip-hop. If I want to be a rapper right now, let's say Nicki Minaj is my favorite, right? I'm probably gonna want to dive deeper into figures like Nicki Minaj. Who may have inspired Nicki Minaj? I might come up with Lil' Kim. You know, Lil' Kim was out here and she was doing it big, and she may have been the inspiration for a lot of these women rappers of today, with how they come out and the audacity mixed with the femininity and the outright dark, raw sensuality that they bring to the culture. I may look into that. I may even go beyond Kim. I may look into Foxy Brown. I may look into a time when it probably was not even directed towards that, and it was a little bit less sensual, probably at an era of Queen Latifah's time. Queen Latifah, right? So this is something that I would do, just like me being island baby, right? I have island blood because of my family. If I want to know about myself, I'm gonna study about my culture. My culture would take me beyond probably to Africa, and then I'm gonna study the times of Africa in different parts of Africa. I may even go on beyond the times into Homo sapiens. I'm gonna do all that I can to get to the root, and even if I don't ever get to the root, the deeper that I go, like Alice in Wonderland, I'm gonna be getting closer and closer to the truth. I'm not gonna just stick to my immediate culture and just leave that as my identity, and that's that. And that is what you get a lot today, especially with these religious people. They go and do this and they accept this as the end all be all, and they don't even do necessary research and only intake what is told to them by pastors, preachers, or those who claim to be prophets and know the Bible. You have to keep in mind, to know yourself is not, you're not going to be shown the reflection or the authenticity of yourself by just going into the light. The light is only a fraction of the darkness. If you want to really know who you are, you must go through the darkness. Like it says in Psalm 23, Though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou prepares a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anoints my head with oil. My cup runneth over, and surely goodness shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever and ever. If you've seen Sinners, might as well touch base on Sinners just a little bit. If you've seen that guy with the guitar, right? He went through so many things. Now, for y'all who didn't see it, has a little bit of spoilers, but in the beginning, his dad told him, you keep going out and playing that music or whatever, the devil gonna follow you home. And throughout his whole journey throughout that movie, he just could not let go of that guitar. That guitar is a symbol of where his gift lied. That guitar is part of his identity because he was a beast on the guitar. Some people may see this as a gift. Some people may see this as a curse. At the end of the day, what you deem yourself to be cursed with may very well much be where your gift lies. So it is up to you whether you want to sacrifice that gift because you deem it as a curse and then subject yourself to the externals of the world because you think that's how you will be sanctified, when really that's not the case. You're really just enslaving yourselves to their outside thoughts. Or you can hone in on what has naturally been given to you. And that is what he chose. Throughout him even being almost attacked by vampires, that guitar was something that he was not willing to give up because that was his gift. And your gift is in what you truly love, something that you cannot stop doing, something that is part of you. You have people that's working jobs right now that subjected themselves to a job because they don't think themselves adequate to go out and pursue their gift. Now, some people may think that that boy has sold his soul to the devil because he seemingly cannot let a desire like that go, when really that is what is natural to him. Because really those whom sell their soul is those who turn a blind eye to what is naturally given to them and then do what is expected of them, what's been programmed to them as being the right path. This is what getting goddess spirituality out of the throne has done to the majority. And now we have been given this spectrum of light of how to go about this life that is considered right. Whew. Bars, yeah, that was bars. But that is what we have been given, and then we just walk that path blindly. But the ones who are free are the ones who walk the valley of shadow of death, and they fear no evil. So, you already know, and this is something that I want to get into as well in a future video, perhaps when I'm done with the whole series, but I want to dissect on what are false prophets, how you can recognize the authentic prophets from the false prophets. Because there are many times when people have dabbled in what they call New Age spirituality, which is, I don't understand how it's New Age when it was before a lot of what is given out now, such as these organized religions. This ancient compared to these organized religions, but okay, whatever. You have people that dabble into that and they can't take it because of probably what they've experienced. Perhaps they've seen some type of spirits. They've seen things that have been crazy. It takes them out to another world. They thought it was a game. They thought it was some... You gotta understand, when you are embarking on something, it is an initiation that is taking place. Now, if you want to continue to eat the baby food and you're not ready for the real food, then stick with the baby food. But don't think that you're not going to be tested, because you're going to be tested. For real, for real. And if you could face your shadows, because that's all that is, all that darkness that you're seeing, that you're afraid, that people are afraid to embark on, it's really a reflection of their darkest aspects that for some reason they can't take. But if you're willing to walk through that, take that and allow it to transform you, you in turn begin to harness your own light. You become a light bearer. And who else is a light bearer that we all know? You know what? I'm not even gonna spill the beans like that. I'm not even gonna spill the beans on who else is a light bearer. But if you are interested, you could go ahead and check out my blog. I get so in depth. I tell you who the light bearers are. I tell you things that you may want to recognize in this day and age where the divine feminine is indeed rising. Revelation is taking place right now. But if you don't recognize, if you don't harness that light within yourself, you're going to be steady trying to pay attention and hear what it is that people are telling you. So whenever someone tells you something, it should actually be a confirmation to what it is that you have already innately know. If it's so much of a wow factor and it's actually deterring and switching off what it is that you had already thought to have been true, I don't know. I don't know. However, if you made it on this channel, it's something that's probably already sparked up in you, because if there isn't, then you probably wouldn't have made it here, or you probably are on your way out. And that is fine too, because I have an authentic burning light in me. I am a light bearer, so I only expect to attract light bearers. All the false lights, they will be dissolved. That's for a fact. But anyway, I know it's all over the place. This video was a spontaneous one, and I plan to come back with a little bit more of a organized format so I could touch on matters such as this. In the meantime, if you stay this long, we're about to be at 30 minutes. Thank you. And I have some links below, such as my blog, if you want to get more in depth on my thought frame and see if any of that, sort of resonates with you in any way. But like I said, I'll be back, and I am also doing a little bit of rebranding. So you're going to see my logo appear, right? Which is going to say, moving silence, striking style. But I'm rebranding it, and it's going to be saying something else. And I was about to throw that out, but I'm gonna be hush about it right now. In the meantime, my Rosebuds, thank you so much. I hope this, of course it did. If you want this channel, you will hear this long. It had to. But if you know someone who's in need to hear something like this, who may also be on the wavelength, go ahead and share it with them. Subscribe if you feel called to, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bloom, Rosebuds, bloom.